like 360.
So you just download
It's
it.
free.
And
They
it's-
have to download it. Yeah.
Yeah, for the driving stuff, you have to pay for that, but I just. Yeah, he's such a.
And then you can set. I think the free one lets you set 3 locations. Is it 3
Yeah.
for free?
Which
So
I reached my goal
Yeah.
at home school, and then I was
adding.
adding.
Yeah. So I have like LinkedIn. I have my parents, our house. Like I put a bunch of different spots on there. I kept it on because she goes to the so then like it tells you when they arrived and when they leave. So it's funny because she'll be driving by so close. And it's like Reagan arrived at Lincoln. Reagan left Lincoln like 30 seconds later, you know, because you're in the vicinity. But yeah,
I had to turn the notifications off because but yeah.
But I like it.
Last summer was the first time we tried it, and he wasn't driving yet. So that's how it doesn't make sense. Someplace it's the happiest. I don't know, it's slowly just cut off the road a little bit. Now it's just, yeah. I have issues. Just that's
well, like it just tells you how fast she's going. I don't know. You know, but even if it's outside 2 or 3, she's still going too fast. You know, so I'll show her to you. Here's the deal. You know, if you're going too fast. This is she's not good for that, but she's also not paying for insurance or car or whatever. So I'm like,
I'm gonna take it out there and test it. That's we're looking for judges, so someone who won't know just we can test drive something.
Yeah,
get the $20.
Yeah.
can all 3 of you test drive?
Go at separate times.
Yeah. Why?
Hey.
Apparently 20 times a day.
Shoot, spread out. We just have to all go in separately. Do you have a timer?
Otherwise, you have to do it. I think it's just.
Oh, really? Oh, that's great. Good. It was great. Yeah, it was a really well done show.
Jack, I look with Andrew's cast.
The Angie's cast. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
It always amazes me what they can pull off.
Hi. Good. How are you?
Are you staying out of trouble?
Fine, dude.
Yeah.
I'll succeed.
But you just keep your nose in those big spreadsheets.
Right.
Formulas.
I was
Good.
told my first it's too good.
Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to the approval of minutes for the meeting held August 12th, 2019. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes held August 12th signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We do not have any persons wishing to address the board this evening. We'll move on to approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second for approval of the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now the good news report. Deanne, thank you.
Good evening. Now that school is once again in session, it seems like summer and all of the fun things that happened then are just a distant memory. But we didn't want too much time to go by without recognizing 4 students who spent the beginning of their summer at National History Day at a competition in College Park, Maryland, along with 3,000 other students from around the world. who came to showcase their hard work in the National History Day competition. We have Jack Craig and Joseph Simpson, and I'm going to have them stand first and have them come to the podium. They are students, previous students of Edison. Jack is now a Lincoln student, and Joseph is over at Roosevelt. They were awarded the Junior Outstanding Affiliate Award for South Dakota. Their junior group exhibit was titled Mary Ellen Wilson, How One Child's Tragic Abuse Ignited the Era of Child Protection Laws in America. So these gentlemen are going to come up and tell you a little bit about their project. We have a couple of photos on the screen to share with you as well. And it is worth noting, as one of their mothers told me, that these are graduates of our Challenge Center and our middle school honors program as well. So perhaps we'll see more of these gentlemen in the future. So first of all, we'll invite Jack and Joseph, and then we'll meet Ben after that.
Hi, I'm Jack, and I would just like to say that spending the first part of our summer in NHG was just really great and amazing experience. Our project, just a quick summary of it, was about this little girl, Mary Ellen Wilson. She was living in a time before child protection laws existed, so parents could beat their children within the law. And she was horribly abused by her foster mother, like so badly, in fact, that she wasn't even allowed to walk outside. So basically, Methodist missionaries from the church came and tried to help her, and they fought and fought against the law until finally they prevailed, and laws were eventually created throughout history that allowed children to be protected from abusive parents.
Yeah, and our experience at National History Day, so it was very good there. And so what we did is, like, we went out in front of a group of 3 judges. Basically, we explained our board, and then what happened is we, as she said, we got best in South Dakota, and then we also got somewhere between 11th and 20th place for our age group in the nation on our project. So.
Awesome. How did you decide on your topic?
Well, when we did this project in 6th grade, we did it on like child labor laws. And we thought that was really interesting because all child protection laws directly impact us. Mm-hmm. So like we thought that it'd be really fun to expand on that and realize how the era of child protection actually started.
Thank you.
And I'd say you got 11.
Yeah, for sure. So another group attended the same, Ben Qualley and Ella Ratliff, also Edison Middle School students, were awarded the Captain Ken Koski Naval History Prize Award for their junior group website titled The Art of Confusion, the Triumph of Dazzle Camouflage After Tragedy. Ella is not able to join us, but Ben is here with us as well, and he too is attending Lincoln this year. So we'll invite Ben to come forward and share with us about his project.
Hi, I'm Ben. So the project that Ella and I made was about dazzle camouflage, which was a type of ship camouflage that was used in World War I and a little bit in World War II to throw off the accuracy of U-boats. That there's a picture of it on the screen now. That you might be thinking, how does that work as camouflage? It's really obvious. That the way it worked was with U-boats, that they were sinking tons of ships during World War I. The way they worked was you quick looked through a periscope and saw a ship, and it was moving in some direction at some speed, and you had to figure out how fast it was moving to line up the shot so it would hit the ship, because the torpedo would move pretty slowly. So what dazzle camouflage did is it made it incredibly difficult to tell what direction the ship was headed in or at what speed it was headed in, because of all of the crazy colors and lines. That part of it could have been the front of the ship, but you couldn't really tell because of all of the lines. And At NHD, we won the Captain Ken Koski Naval History Award, and it was really fun. All right, thank you.
Thank you for representing the Sioux Falls School District. And about 30 years ago, when I was a student at USD, I was a history student, and I was a chaperone at National History Day for the students from South Dakota. And a classmate of mine was Bob Simpson, who I believe might be Ajax, your father. So a little small tidbit here, but so National History Day is very special to me, just because I got to go
Absolutely.
twice and chaperone.
Full circle. And we want to mention also Erica Bell, their teacher, is here to support them. And obviously she had a strong hand in, and I don't mean strong hand.
Yeah.
There are laws
I mean, a very
against that.
guiding hand in their success. And to have two groups of Edison Middle School students do so well in this competition is worthy of celebrating. We tried to get them here a couple of times over the summer, and just there were a lot of different factors going on. But certainly now that they're freshmen, we want to make sure we honor what they did over the summer months as well.
I just wanted to say it's not easy to find a topic that's going to be engaging enough to come up with a big presentation. It's not easy to do all of that research, and it certainly isn't easy. Your product at the end, your board looked, I mean, we obviously can't see the details, but it looked like it was amazing. And so those are all challenging things. And then to go and travel and stand up in front of people and present. And just the way that you guys spoke up here tonight, you are very well spoken. You didn't sound rehearsed, you sound confident and very interested and engaged in your topic. And so congratulations. I know that didn't come overnight. That was a lot of hard work and dedication outside of the classes that you were taking, because this, I'm assuming, all happened while you were still doing your normal studies and activities and things like that. So congratulations. That dedication and hard work will serve you very well in your high school academic career as well as beyond that. So thank you, as Cynthia said, for representing our district and for continuing to do great things.
I'd just like to add that my son John, as the boys know, he was at, yes, and the teachers know, he was also at this event a couple of years ago. And it really is such a testament to the history teachers in our school district and how they engage and focus students on the history and how that impacts our decisions going forward. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Moving on. We'll move on to conflicts of interest. We have one presented, Board Member Parker. Do I have a motion to approve the conflict of interest?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the conflicts of interest of Board Member Parker signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes with one abstention, Board Member Parker. Move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Items 8A through F. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in approval of approving the consent, voting in favor of approval of consent agenda, items 8A through F, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now moving on to the supplemental consent agenda. We'll do 9A first, approval of claims to Sanford Healthcare System. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving claims to Sanford Health System, item 9A, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with 2 abstentions from Board Member Mickelson and Board Member Ryder. Moving on to 9B, approval of claims to Avera McKinnon Hospital.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second on approval of claims to Avera McKinnon. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with 1 abstention, Board Member Parker. Now to 10 reports of the superintendent. Dr. Maher.
Thank you. We have 3 reports tonight. The first report is a staff development update, all those things that our staff did to prepare for the year and actually is continuing to do. Here to deliver that report tonight is our Assistant Superintendent in charge of curriculum services, amongst other things, is Dr. Teresa Boyson.
Good evening. It has been a busy couple weeks, and we're here tonight to just share some of that information with you about what we've done over the summer and leading into the school year. Our strategic plan, again, drives everything that we do. So District Priority Area 3, district staff, and Priority Areas Statement 7. The Sioux Falls School District will support and train staff to encourage innovation and enable them to grow throughout their careers. We're committed to the training of our staff and the staff development for all employees and all employee groups. So over the summer and throughout those last 2 weeks, we've had staff development opportunities for every single employee group in the Sioux Falls School District. In addition to what we do through the central office, the buildings also have had staff development opportunities for specific to their buildings, training on emergency management, preparedness, culturally responsive practices, and other targeted activities related to their school's needs. Tonight, I'm going to highlight a few things that we started over the summer. So we kicked off, and I was very nervous about that summer symposium because it led right up to the end of the school year. And so we started right away in May, and we kicked that summer symposium off with topics around collaboration, culturally responsive training. We had social emotional learning at that event, response to intervention, collective advocacy for teachers, PAGE, which is that peer access and group equity, and advantage math, which we call ABMR. And so those are some of the trainings that we had right away at the beginning of the summer and led through the summer. And then we moved into some focused trainings for groups of staff. One of our staff that we really focus some significant training on at the beginning of the summer and through the summer is our new administrators, our interns, and our instructional coaches. And they went through Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, or SIOP, and really looking at specific strategies to help engage students in the classroom. SPED 101, and so they get all the good things that go on with special education and how they work with students and staff. Instructional leadership is our training for our admin, and it starts in the summer and it goes throughout the year, and that works on feedback and giving that productive feedback to staff and for growth for them, but also for their students. And then crucial conversations training. So that's for our admin team. And then we also had focused training for our computer science immersion at our Code to the Future schools. And that was anybody that's new to those buildings, and then what's new and upcoming for this year to get them up to speed ready for the year. And then we started with our very first group of staff on August 8th at Memorial with our educational assistants. We had 412 educational assistants and behavior facilitators, specialists there with us on that day. And here are some of the topics that we included. We had Dr. Jermaine Davis working with an inclusive lens, so culturally responsive practices. That kicked off our morning, and that really set the tone for the day. And then we've had some adverse childhood experiences training, and that looks at trauma within a child's upbringing, and those ACEs is what they call them. How many ACEs do you have in your bucket, and how do we help work with those types with students? We had data collection, confidentiality, who are our students? So we had Kristen Smith from our Immersion Center come out and talk to the group about who is coming into the Sioux Falls School District. And then we did some training specific to elementary around SIPs, so that reading strategies, so that those that work with elementary students had that. And so that was a great first look at that. And then we moved into some other support groups. Our clerical had a combination. Again, this year, we did last year for the first time. Half of their training is through our learning management system, Schoology, and the other half is face-to-face training. So any training that has to do with ITS out there, they do that face-to-face, and the rest through finance, community relations. Bob Bray with Safe and Secure. We can all do that through that LMS system, so they can watch those videos and get that information on a schedule that works for them and their building, but then also they can refer back to that information all year long because it's housed within that system. Then we moved into our new hire day on August 12th, and we welcomed 146 new staff to Sioux Falls. And these are teachers that some are brand new with 0 years experience, and some are coming to us from other professions with an alternative certificate, or from another district with years of experience. And so that was a great day. Curriculum services and instructional coaches offered training specific to what they needed on August 12th. And then we moved into more of our back-to-school trainings the week right after we kicked off at the Pentagon. We had early childhood, really looking at high scope and their dialogic reading program. Elementary, listened to becoming the math teacher you wish you had, and really helping staff to overcome some of those if they're afraid to be that math teacher. So really looking at that, and it was a good day for them. They had a whole day with Zager Smith. And then we had Dr. Howe speak to them on Monday morning on American Indian Research and Native American Studies, and working specifically then with fourth grade on that, implementing the Secojaween, working with our Native American standards. And then we did SIPS training. Middle school, we did more work with the LMS, student engagement and standards-based learning. In high school, we had instructional agility and engaging assessments with Tom Schimmer. He spoke to both middle school and high school on the power of a zero and how we can be careful we don't use our grade book as power, and really working with the middle school and the high school, and that was well received. And high school finished off with Choose Your Own Adventure professional development. So they had 25 different courses they could choose from throughout the day and really self-direct that professional development opportunity for them. And the rest of our groups, again, it's very specific training for them so that they can do what they do best every day. Our special education nurse, our school psychologist, and our speech therapy targeted professional development for them. And so our goal through curriculum services is really to make sure that every teacher has what they need to do the very best that they do every day, but then so every student receives an excellent education and instruction in their classroom every day. And that's our staff development update for the 2019 school year. I'll stand by for any questions.
I'm curious, and I know there's a lot of topics, and we obviously have a lot of different groups of people too. What's the process for, I don't want to say determining effectiveness, but how do we know that the time and energy that we spent now before school started, when we do drop-in visits, when we do evaluations of teachers and things like that, are there certain things that we say, we trained this at the beginning of the year, I'm looking for this as part of your instructional practices, or how does that work?
So at the end of trainings, one practice is we take a survey to make sure that was effective, or it hit the mark, or what would you like to see different or better. So that's one piece of it. But then also really looking at student engagement, feedback, do we give that? And we have certain markers that they look for on that drop-in visit. And then the principals can run that report to see, am I seeing these things in that classroom, to make sure that they're hitting the target with that.
And then the other thing I would say to that, Carly, good question, is if those gaps where maybe we don't see drive what the professional development will look like next year.
Okay.
Good question.
And when it's being implemented successfully, how is that shared within the district? Is there a way, so is that, does one building principal, can they say, wow, our teacher, so how is that?
Right, so we always look for bright spots. And so when you see a bright spot, so maybe this building's moving the marker on social emotional, or they're moving the marker on reading or math or science, then we ask those deeper questions of them. What are you doing? And then we share that information out at principals meetings. So that way you can share, and then, oh, I can reflect back, am I doing that in my building? And then how can I move that forward?
Kind of in that same vein, do we ever have teachers then who are showing these new skills and they're utilizing them? Do we ever use them to go to other buildings or to teach? You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of the train the trainer to say, I went to this training, I learned this, and this is how I implemented it. Because maybe as another teacher, I might say, oh, I never even thought about that. You know what I mean?
Maybe more so in the building. I can't say that we've done it across buildings.
Okay.
but in the building for sure. All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We're good? Okay. We have a motion to approve the staff development report.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed,
We're
same
just
sign.
having a sidebar.
Motion carries. Okay.
And apparently
Thank you.
I
You
was
wanna bring
having it
up
on my
Todd?
own.
Okay. Thank you.
Nudge him over there.
All right. Our second report tonight is the Fall 2019 Staffing Update. Here to deliver that report is our Senior Director of Human Resources, Becky Dorian.
Good evening. The Human Resources Department this time of year takes a collective deep breath, sigh, all right, we did it. And that's certainly not without the hard work of everyone across the district that spends their spring and summer hiring. As you can see up on the screen, we have a whole group of new teachers. I don't know if it's because I've been here for 20 years, but to me, they look awfully young. But I think that every year when they come in. So it's been a lot of fun welcoming all the new staff. This year, we are welcoming 129 new teachers. As a point of, 2 points of clarification, in your report, it probably said 125, but no one let me stop hiring when I published the report, so I just updated the PowerPoint instead. And then Dr. Boyson mentioned she had 140 new staff. Her staff were actually, some of them were from another level coming in to get PD in a new area, so that's why those numbers are a little bit different. You can see from the pie chart there that almost half were elementary staff, and we just had a nice mix. That's pretty typical. We didn't see any big swings in the levels there. 43% of our teachers this year are brand new to the profession. Again, we're always right around that half are brand new to the profession. And then 2/3 have less than 5 years of experience, and 3/4 are from South Dakota. We also hired folks from Minnesota and Iowa, Arizona, Massachusetts, Colorado, Idaho, Indiana, Nebraska, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Spain. So we had a nice mix of people around. One of the fun parts in looking at this data was to see the number of staff that already worked for us last year that are now coming back as teachers. So 1/3 of them, if you will, had their foot in the door. And they had their foot in the door by being substitute teachers, education assistants, part-time staff, and then 3 of them came from Dr. Knoll's teacher internship program, where we welcomed a Spanish immersion teacher, a special ed teacher, and a chemistry teacher. So that was exciting to see that work pay off. Now, looking where we've been for the past 5 years, you can see that we haven't hired as many teachers in the past 2 years. And looking back at the data, we've had a few less retirements, a little less turnover, less programming changes than we had 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we had a number more elementary staff hired, and then also special education staff. So. As you can see here, we hovered just right under 5 years of experience of the people that we've hired, and then right around 1/3 of them have their master's degree when they come to us. Now, teacher hiring is pretty close to being wrapped up. I believe we probably will be adding 1 more staff at the elementary level. But our focus really now is on our support staff, because it's when all of these kids come to school, we start realizing, okay, we may need some more support staff here and there. So we're in full hiring for support staff. If you look on our website right now, we need 23 education assistants. So, well, we've still got some work to do. We've hired about 105 to date. That would be education assistants, specialists, coaches that all work with our students. And then, of course, we need about 250 substitute teachers. We cast a wide net when it comes to recruitment. We like to do a lot of things because we catch people from all walks of life that want to work in a school district. Our favorites are still the job fairs and the meet and greets where we can get candidates connected with principals, because that's really where the best stuff happens, when they can be talking about teaching and learning together. Something new this year, you might have seen if you're driving up and down 41st Street or even Cliff Avenue, we've got some digital billboards looking for substitute teachers and for custodians for our focus this fall for those. This time of year, we also take a look at what our hiring pool was. We had about 832 teacher applicants. 3/4 of them are from South Dakota, and 87% are from the Midwest. It's not atypical for us. We have a young pool of applicants. Over half of them have less than 5 years of experience, and then the average years of experience is just under 7 years. Now, looking ahead, the past 2 years, we saw about a 20% dip in teacher applications. Between 17-18 and 18-19, I reasoned that was because we didn't do early hires for elementary or special ed, because we'd done a lot of programming changes between those 2 years and had staff to reassign. But as I noticed again this year, we did do early hires, and our numbers are about the same. So we'll have to keep track of that trend and see where that's going. And then one of the last things I want to just point out is when we look around us, these are the people that are in our applicant pool. So 649 of them are right here in South Dakota, but I was really surprised by the number the few number that are from Minnesota and Iowa, Nebraska, and North Dakota. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you have a student that resides in Sioux City, Iowa, and they go to USD, I used their current address, so it said South Dakota. So that could be a reason for the high number, but when we're looking at the number of people that want to maybe apply to Sioux Falls to move to Sioux Falls, that was a surprising number and something definitely that we want to keep track of and see why this is. So. All right. Does anybody have any questions?
Just, we need to promote substitute applications.
That's right. If you've got 1 day a month, we'll take you.
Yeah. Is that a pretty usual number right now, or is this an unusual high for the 250 short right now?
That's always our goal, is 250.
Okay.
To replace those that we've hired, those that have moved on to something else. And then when you're hiring people that can work maybe once a week or once a month, you need a large number to fill in the need.
How many subs do we have on average in a day in the district? There is such a thing as an average.
Well, the low point is right about 130. Okay. And then higher point when we get into maybe tournament time or cold in flu season, we could need close to 300.
Wow.
So there's a swing there, definitely.
And just a reminder for people who are listening or watching, what is the requirement that you have to be a substitute?
We prefer individuals with a bachelor's degree. However, if you have an associate's degree and some solid working experience, we are able to bring you onto the sub pool.
They just go to the school district website to apply.
Yes.
Just trying to help you.
Any other questions?
Well, 830 applicants, just to look through that many and decide where you want to go as far as our interviews and buildings and things like that is a big and time-consuming job. So while you might be sad that it's 200 less than it has been, you might also be happy that it's less. But thank you for the time and dedication that takes, you and your team of people who have to go through that and decide, do they have the requirements that they need to work here, and where are the openings, and all the people who take the time to make sure that we have the best people in our classrooms, not just teachers, but all of the very important support staff as well. So hopefully we can continue to recruit from in and outside of South Dakota, and new grads and people who maybe need a change of pace and love kids and love teaching. So thank you for your work.
You're most welcome. It's my privilege.
No further comments or questions? Do I have a motion to approve the staffing update?
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, our third report tonight will be the fiscal year 19 wrap-up report. This report comes to you tonight from our business manager, Todd Veek.
Thanks. Thank you. Sorry about that. Usually at the second board meeting or second regular meeting in August, we have the final finance reports and the final business managers reports because we've locked that down and that was kind of a remnant of when our state aid report used to be due August 15th. We had to have all that stuff figured out by the time that meeting was held. A few years ago, they moved that deadline back to August 30th, and with our changeover to a new finance system and kind of the double entry and all that other work that had to go on our finance staff, we're still finishing up our report tonight. So this is just an oral report. We know where our numbers are going to end up. There's a few details that have to be worked out yet when you're uploading to that state system. So you'll get the business manager report in the authos at the next meeting in September, but we'll go through the usual data we provide at this time. So we have what we call our tax supported funds, and we're going to look at the revenues here. Of course, our general fund is our largest, and we actually came in 1.8 million to the good. Most of that was interest income. We did pretty well on interest income this year. Our capital outlay fund was about kind of right on the money, and our special education was just a little bit short as well. So we don't like to be shorts, but we kind of knew that was coming. We had overshot our state aid estimate, and when we did our final budget in September, where we added federal money to make up for that, but we knew you're not allowed, once you've approved the budget in July, you can't reduce the items. You can only add 2. So we kind of knew that one was coming as well. Pension fund, that was wiped out in 2016, but we're still getting some late property tax payments to that. Bond redemption fund, we had retired that, but now we have, with the passage of the $190 million bond, we're back at that again in our revenues this year. So we did do that 13-cent levy, and our revenues this year were $1,173,000. To look at our expenditures, we hope to come in low always. In the general fund, we came in at 99.2%. So that was a positive about 1.4 million over the budget. Usually we get that in salaries come in low. We always kind of budget that delta, and hopefully we do better than what we budget in the delta, and we came in a little bit better as well there. Capital outlay, we were 1.8 million to the good versus budget. SPED, we were close to on the money. We spent 98.4% of the budget. And bond redemption, it's just a time. Bond redemption gets a little goofy with you get your revenue twice a year, and you got to pay it off according to the schedule. So we only spent 92% of what was budgeted. So probably the most important thing is to kind of look at how we netted the combination of the revenues and the expenditures. So on the general fund, we had budgeted $1.3 million into the fund balance. We actually came out almost $2 million to the good. So our variance there was a positive $3.3 million. Capital outlay, it was $2.1 million. Our tax revenues came in better than we had expected way back in April, 15 months ago. The pension fund, $4,000, we're not planning on anything for that. So that's obviously a positive variance. And then bond redemption fund was, we just budgeted what we thought we were going to need to spend. We were levied that 13 cents, and we're going to work our way into the full amount of that bond redemption fund as we go forward. So what does it look like? What do our fund balances look like? General fund balance is now at 14.8 million. The estimate was that would be at 12.7. So that is good news. Capital outlay plan, we were at 10.4 last year. Our estimate was at 9 million, and we're at 8.7. We're within 300,000 of where we thought we'd be in March when we prepared that plan. SPED, we know we've been spending that down. It's down to 2.4%. However, we do still have some IDA carryover left over from the days of Avera. So if you consider that as part of the fund balance, we're at 5.6. We'd still like to be higher than that, but it isn't quite as low as it looks there. Our pension fund, that money just gets transferred into the general fund. Can't even spend it out of there anymore. And bond redemption, it looks really large. It's 202%, but we have a $3.3 million payment that was made this month on that. So that fund will actually be borrowing some interfund borrowing for a little while until we get that back. So that is kind of a quick overview of where we stand with those tax-supported funds. There is one other part that's part of the state aid report that's new since 2016, and that's the teacher compensation. We have to certify what that is. And we have a pretty good idea where it's going to be, but our SFEA group involves more than classroom teachers. It involves counselors, social workers. So you don't know exactly what that's going to look like when you figure it up on the teachers, or just who are considered classroom teachers. So our average increase was 0.9%. It seems underwhelming, but we get that delta. We know that delta exists. We had budgeted for 2.75, and with the delta, it went down to 0.9. We are easily meeting the requirements. The requirements are that you're above 2017 levels. We're far above that. But what's maybe more interesting is that average total compensation, that's 2.6%, and that's health insurance, and is the big driver of that. So, and that's what they figured on. You got to have your average compensation growing. So 2.6%, again, not a huge number, but remember our state aid last year, including the one-time money, was 1.7%. So if you look at, we have $111 million of total compensation, and if you just estimate that 11 million of that's federal, just to make a nice round number so I can do it. If you think of the difference between 2.6 and 1.7 is 0.9, that's $900,000. That's $900,000 we have to make up somewhere in our budget for the compensation of the classroom teachers in the school district. So that's kind of, that state, we always said it, that state aid is going to drive what we can afford to pay people. And we beat that by a pretty good margin last year. So, of course, we don't have the final business manager and the final finance report for you tonight, so there's no formal action to take tonight. This is just informational. That'll be in the authos next time, because you heard what I would say 2 weeks from now. You heard it tonight. So I'd stand by for any questions.
Not a question, but just an observation. Given that you're working with tax-supported funds, I just want to congratulate you on the projections that you have to do and where you landed with those, given that it's not an exact science. And then second, to the extent that we can continue to prioritize teacher compensation, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, a lot of people provide a lot of information that allows us to do a pretty good job of projecting where we're going to be. And yeah, we have tried to make it a priority to keep the salaries moving forward instead of just locking them into the state aid and knowing that Delta will actually move them backwards. Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none,
Yeah, we don't need an action tonight.
Well, you don't, not even the approval of your.
No, we don't.
Okay, for acknowledgement. Okay. Okay, we'll move on. Do I have a motion to move into executive session under SDCL 1-25-2, Friends 1?
So moved.
Second.
Mhm.